Happy holidays, friends. Just like Santa Claus, we're bringing you some very, very special news stories from the board game world that you can open up right now. You don't have to wait till December 25th. In fact, it's for this week, our news roundup for December 10th, 2018. Board game publisher CMON, who you probably know from releases such as a Song of Ice and Fire miniatures game or Rising Sun, recently put out a revenue report for 2018 in which they reported that they had some heavy losses for the year, about $4 million, which puts them down about 32% from their total earnings in 2017. They said that this was due to a combination of factors, not enough money made from their Kickstarter offerings, and also increased spending they had to put towards their convention showings. So this is a pretty surprising story. This actually came out a few weeks ago, but I think it's a big deal and we needed to talk about it now because we always think about CMON. They're at the forefront of the Kickstarter world. They always have the biggest high-profile projects, huge campaigns, expensive games, and they're always funded very successfully. So to hear them come out and report these losses is really surprising. And also the fact that they're ready. A lot of companies would come out and kind of try to sweep this under the rug or paint it in like a different light and somehow spin it to like be kind of a positive. They pretty much came out and said, this is a bad thing. We lost money. I don't know. What's your take on this? How does this make you feel?
First off, it's 32%. I think it's pretty hard to spin that. I feel like usually when you hear it, even EA, I don't think was that big of a loss. I mean, money-wise, but I don't think percent-wise.
Mm-hmm.
Went back with the Battlefield debacle. But it is interesting the words you use. I assume that they're directly from the article. That it's like from Kickstarter not making enough money, right. Which, as we said, they still make quite a bit.
Yeah, I paraphrased, but yeah, decreased revenue from Kickstarters.
And the bigger convention, I do feel like they've been big. Their booth area has been bigger each time.
Mm-hmm. Certainly at Gen Con, and we.
And that's not including. I don't know if their prices for booths have gone up.
Right, for sure. Hiring staff to run demos, getting content out there for that. Who knows? But I guess it's really also kind of tells a story because we always think of that. It just seems like Kickstarter is so overwhelmingly successful, and especially for companies like CMON, but it sounds like maybe it's not working out for them, and maybe they won't continue if to put things through Kickstarter. Maybe they will scale that back.
Well, I'm more worried they'll actually might double down on it.
Oh, yeah.
I'm afraid that we might see more things like we're only releasing this game through Kickstarter, will not be released anywhere else. Or even more Kickstarter exclusive items and stuff.
And do you think that'll work for them?
It might. I mean, that's what gets a lot of people to Kickstarter. That's just my general fear. That's not the way I'd like it to go. But they do so many Kickstarters. I can see them practicing that.
Yeah, it's possible. Yeah, but it is pretty crazy. And usually we don't really talk that much about financial reports. Usually in the board game world, it's not something that is that known, I don't feel, compared to movies or video games. But just the fact that this one's kind of a high-profile thing, it seemed like a big deal. And hopefully it's not something that's consistent with other companies on Kickstarter. Hopefully it's maybe this was just a bad year. Maybe for some reason, I don't know, Song of Ice and Fire just didn't grab the Game of Thrones crowd. Some of these other ones, for whatever reason.
I definitely think that's part of it too. I mean, I wonder how many people actually backed for that giant mold of Cthulhu that we have a photo with.
Right. Yeah, maybe they just went too far off that deep end, and maybe they need to focus on, big miniatures, but not that big.
Well, another thing, we'll have to look at a bigger trend, and we'll see definitely if this is the case in 2019. Maybe we're finally hitting that game plateau.
Right.
Like, everyone already has enough games. We don't need another Cthulhu game or zombie game, or even can't afford another.
Yeah, how many Zombicide games have they run alone on Kickstarter? Yeah, maybe they're starting to compete with themselves.
Well, if this is that plateau, we're not going to just see them have it. We're going to see this across probably all the boards for board games. We're going to see people become a lot pickier with their selections, which means less Kickstarter revenue, as well as maybe even like less funding either of the indies, which would be sad because everyone's just like, let's just get that one big game that came out. Or maybe even like we had enough cool CMON games. We get how they work.
Right.
So it's definitely interesting. This could be the year we really see all that come to the forefront.
A lot of big things, a lot of big changes, maybe for better, maybe for worse. We'll see what happens next year. Good luck, CMON.
CMON wasn't the only company that's having some problems in the stock market. Hasbro is reporting a loss, but this is mostly because Toys R Us closed, which we did report on much earlier in the year. This has been a big deal for Hasbro and many toy companies because many stockholders have been a little scared about how much money they're going to be able to make over the holiday season without the major toy retail out giving out their toys. However, they talked about in a news report, which we'll actually put a link down below, how they're not too worried about that and how the tariff war in America has actually been of interest because apparently a lot of their products are either already made in America, 25% I believe, and some moving. In particular, the big one that we thought was interesting was Wizards of the Coast. The card game apparently is going to be moved to there, and that Wizards would probably also include the Transformers card game. And what's interesting is, I don't know if Magic, if this move has happened yet or not, but we do know a while back when we still had the store open with Dominion, some people wanted to make sure, were asking about whether the copy we had was the one that was made in America or not. Because apparently there's a big difference in card quality.
Yeah, and I have heard, related to this story, people concerned that the quality of Magic cards in particular has maybe gone down lately?
They already have, yes. There's a effect called warping and bending. Mm-hmm. Pretty much, imagine taking a stack of cards and eventually, they start turning up a little, like almost U-shape. And someone took pretty much a stack of older cards and new cards. I think they started bending like that within a week or something. It was something really bad.
It's pretty bad.
And the foil on some cards, depending on how they foil it, looks really poor. And that's another big issue. So people are really worried if we're going to see these kinds of issues pop up in the card games. Because that obviously will drop the price of cards for the newer ones, which I'm sure people in the Magic card stock market who have old cards are quite happy with. But as well as, you just want good cards.
Yeah, I mean, it sounds like a shame because it sounds like, from Hasbro's perspective, in order to save themselves money, they're punishing maybe their most profitable area. Like, I gotta assume Magic is high up on their list of moneymakers.
Well, I think partly it seems like that to us because we also see the secondary market. Remember, they don't get that secondary market
They sure don't.
that we know of.
But they do get plenty of tournaments and sealed drafts and booster packs.
Well, that's actually a whole other thing of news with them.
Yeah,
because there's the whole artists are having a sort of a strike dealing not directly with Magic, it's with I think Channel Fireball is the ones who run companies because the artists are like, we're not getting money to like hotels or planes and stuff. And that's a really interesting thing too, because then some people have suggested maybe Wizards should be chipping in because these are their artists and stuff.
Yeah.
So the card art and quality is a big thing for people. And we're just sticking on Magic, once again, this is all their games. But the other thing that was interesting is we have to give them points we have to talk about the tariff. Because they mentioned that one of the things that's not hurting them as much because they're going to make this stuff in America, which is a valid point. I mean, we actually even heard at PAX Unplugged some people talking about how devastating it was. This is before they pushed the tariffs.
For people who don't know, tell them about the tariffs briefly.
Pretty much, the U.S. government is putting tariffs on China, and China retaliated with tariffs on their products. Pretty much raising prices for everything of the consumer buys, not the...
Could be a big deal because many board games, if not all of them, are made in China.
Quite a bit, yes.
Yeah.
And some people talked about, this is before they pushed in, now with the whole debacle of the recent businesswoman who got arrested in Canada, we don't know if they'll come back to January 1st, but some people were like, my shipment isn't going to be able to make it here before January, and that is gonna cost me so much more. And I don't know. I don't think I can pass those prices on to the customers. I think I'm gonna have to be the one. It's a very interesting.
Yeah. So we could end up with lower quality products in general across the board, or just delays, or if they have to pay more money to make it, they're going to charge you more money, or they're going to charge you the same amount but make a worse product.
Or they can do what I've heard some companies do sometimes, which is really neat, is they keep the MSRP at the same price, but they raise the price that the store owners will have to buy it from. So in essence, lowering the profit margin that really hurts them a lot.
Yeah.
So anyone who has a good, friendly local gaming store, they're going to be probably the ones who are definitely going to take a hit somehow.
Yeah, it's not good. So have they said how much of this is concrete? We're doing this.
The tariff?
Hasbro specifically. That's what going back versus
That sounds like they're pretty concrete with pushing through with all this stuff. I think they probably were to begin with. Like I said, the Magic quality thing is not new. This has been going on since, I think, even last year, the cards. It might even be affect the cards that we have on the set right behind us. But those are more jokey promo ones. And it's definitely something that's very concerning because, as you said, like, this is still a big moneymaker. I mean, I assume that we've probably talked about it. I don't even know if we have, but they must be in the works of thinking about, like, with Magic, because I feel like with the way they've done Planeswalkers as, like, actually recognizable characters, they've got to be in the works of, like, a movie or something, right?
Yeah, I mean, for how marketable that property is, there's so many different mediums and avenues they could exploit it to. Not even in a bad way, but like they could do it well. But yeah, it's almost surprising how long it's been around and how little of that they've really done. But maybe, I don't know. Hopefully they find some way to make money along with every other publisher.
It is interesting because with the quality of cards, and I mentioned the Artist Alley, but they're also the pro players a while back had
they wanted to get paid.
Yeah, too. So I think we're going to see, I'm definitely really curious to see what comes out of Wizard in 2019 because I think there's going to be some...
In addition to, I would say, the potential competition from games like Keyforge and maybe even their own Transformers eating into that Magic market.
I mean, we'll definitely see how this is going up. And of course, if you're more into Magic, definitely you probably find someone who better can talk about it. But I know the formats too, people talk about, like, is Modern too flooded now or too expensive? And that's a whole other issue. Like, is Magic growing too big and are they not giving the people the product they need in order to sort of deflate the issue? I think it's very interesting. I think 2019, we might see some really interesting big changes come to Magic.
And we're already out of news stories, so we're going to tell you about what's being released this week. You can go out and purchase it right now. There's a new expansion for Scythe Encounters to add some new encounter cards to your game. There's a new edition of Pandemic Fall of Rome, another new spin on that classic co-op title. There's a brand new one from AEG called Scorpius Freighter that sees you in space loading and transporting cargo. And then there's Ubongo Fun Size Edition, a smaller version of the Ubongo game, which we got to see a little bit of at PAX Unplugged, and there's actually a video interview where we go over it, which you can find on our channel now.
But of course, we can't ignore the digital releases. Carcassonne is coming to Switch, which is pretty interesting, and there's plenty more games coming to Switch and others, which we do enjoy. We really like the idea of the Switch as a digital board game.
Yeah.
Tile.
They picked a great release date of the day before Super Smash Bros. Came out to put it out there. Great planning on everybody's parts.
But continuing with that, I thought this would be a good time to, especially with our news stories ahead, and especially the Magic one we said a lot, like what we expect to see maybe in the coming year in the board games. And I think that's a good one to start off with. The Carcassonne is, I think the Switch, at least I'm hoping the Switch becomes a much stronger sort of digital board game platform.
Yeah, I think that's a likely bet. I think in general, the digital realm is growing a lot. Certainly, Tabletop Simulator alone.
I mean, the Magic Arena is becoming bigger. I mean, I think there's a Pokemon too, and then Hearthstone, like that digital card game is going...
Artifact.
Right.
Gwent, playing poker in Red Dead Online. No, that one doesn't count. But there's a lot. I mean, I think like we were talking about, 2019 could be the first year we start to see some real signs of that bubble bursting, particularly when it comes to Kickstarter. Right now, we have so many big Kickstarter games every week, and so many of them look good. And I think we're gonna reach that tipping point.
Maybe people have too many minis.
Too many minis.
But that absolutely, I think I'm really curious to see what happens with Kickstarter, and obviously with the companies, especially quality of companies that maybe don't use Kickstarter like Magic. Are we actually going to see a decrease maybe because of tariffs, or maybe the tariffs because the recent meeting they had, maybe they won't happen at all. So maybe board games companies will be able to avoid that. Mm-hmm. And because the tariffs are selective, so maybe they'll avoid the ones that the board games care about. And it's going to be very interesting, I think, for at least from the American standpoint.
Right.
I don't know how badly that will affect the other countries.
Hopefully not too bad. I'll tell you two things that I hope we see more of in the next year, which probably a lot of people don't want to see, which are I would love to see more digital integration with physical board games, even in the realm of VR and AR. We've seen a little bit of that, like in Chronicles of Crime, with when you look through the phone, or AR stuff with board games, being able to, as that kind of becomes more mainstream, that technology, I think that's really fun to see. That's more stuff like that.
One.
That's one. Oh, the other one is I'd like to see more of a. I hope that the push keeps going. That's been going for a long time, of bringing board games to mainstream casual audiences. We always talk about how now you can find board games, Barnes & Noble, Target. I hope we find a way to continue to make a rule book for a game not a scary thing for a new player.
Yeah, I think the two things I would like to see in the coming year from board games is, one, I definitely want them to be more like hit the public audience, as you said, more to the point that if someone says, I like board games, that someone doesn't go, oh, you mean Monopoly?
Yeah.
Not that, I mean, you can like Monopoly. It's sort of annoying when people only imagine the Hasbro games when someone says board games.
Yeah.
And
we're getting there.
That's definitely a big thing. And I mean, this one's a bit more personal. I just am excited to see the transfer card we can grow because it's new. It's the properties I love, and I hope it does continue to grow, and I hope Hasbro makes the right decisions with it. What I'm scared about, is, as you said, the quality of products. If we do hit a bubble, some companies, not just Hasbro, I think all of them are legal. Like, they will do it. We don't think Hasbro's the only dark villain here of cutting the quality in corners to try to release the game.
Yeah.
And the other big thing is I'm worried about. I mean, just in general, always, it's just friendly local gaming stores, if they're going to be able to still keep up, especially with the tariffs and stuff. Because I feel like while we see prices rise, no matter how we see them rise, I think they're the ones who are definitely get hit hard, especially with like Wizards of the Coast making the deals with Amazon directly and stuff like that. So I'm worried about how much the Amazon, Targets, and Walmarts may take out the local game stores.
Yeah. I think in general, any brick and mortar store is hugely at risk for that kind of a thing. With Asmodee making all kinds of publication deals, production deals, and who knows who they'll buy next year too, and who will buy them.
That's assuming they don't actually get broken apart. That's another interesting. If we see that, that's going to be a whole new.
Yeah, I mean, I within certainly the next 2 or 3 years, I think Asmodee is going to go through like another 3 forms probably. Who knows what we're going to see? If you couldn't tell from all our doom and gloom prediction talk, some doom, some gloom. This is probably going to be our final news roundup of 2018.
Yes.
Just because it's towards the end of the year, holidays are coming, and there ain't that much to talk about.
But do not fret. We have plenty more videos we will be releasing, such as game reviews. Of course, we have to do our top 10 for the year.
Yes, and if you're watching this week, please stay tuned, because on December 15th, we're going to be doing a big live stream for Extra Life.
Yeah, we weren't able to do in November because just things were so hectic. So we thought, why not do one for the Christmas holidays so you can donate to help Timmy get his new board game.
That's right. So definitely tune into twitch.tv/rollforcritlive. I believe there is a link already in the description. We'll put one if there's not. So then subscribe to that and clear your calendar for Saturday, because that'll be a lot of fun. We'll try to do a full 24 hours, but we'll see when we fall asleep. But I believe we'll be starting that, noon on Saturday?
Yeah, that sounds
We're
good.
going to say noon o'clock on Saturday, December 15th. And of course, there's still going to be a Kickstarter video tomorrow and some other stuff in the next few weeks. So
yes,
stay tuned.
So until then, I'm Will.
I'm Jonathan.
And this has been Roll for Crit News.
Don't forget to like and subscribe for more board game content. Every little bit helps.
Please, we gotta eat.